Right now, though, we have special guest in the studio. Lakeview graduate Maggie Wood is with us right now. She's 18. Good morning.
Good morning.
Did I get that right? You're 18?
Yep, 18 years old.
And crank your mic up a little. You get a little closer to that. You can pull it up a little closer to you. And, well, gosh, Lakeview High School, you just graduated?
Yes, I just graduated, class of 2018.
My goodness sakes. And I read that you signed a national letter of intent to run cross country at KCC in their, well, you were the first athlete to commit to this new program.
Yes, I did. I thought it was going to be a really unique opportunity because it's a first-year program, and I really like to build where I'm from, and it's right downtown near our small business, so it works out. I can work, I can run, I can go to school, everything I like to do kind of in one place, so...
You mentioned your small business. I'll let you give a plug. Tell us about that.
Well, my family started a bike store 30 years ago called Team 3, and now we're Team Active. So I grew up kind of in that athletic industry, and I love being a part of it. So that's another job that I'm doing in addition to being Dave Morgan's campaign manager who's running for state rep in the 62nd District.
Yeah, we'll get into that too. But Team 3, that's been down there, a fixture in downtown, through thick and thin. You know, I'd say we could almost call it one of the anchor stores of downtown Battle Creek.
I appreciate you saying that. I would agree with you of my bias. But yeah, absolutely.
Now, do you get put to work down there?
Sure. Yeah, I actually work most days at the bike store too. So it's really fun. What I love is driving down the street and seeing people that we've been able to help follow, whether it's a fitness journey or just a lifestyle journey, put them on bikes and give them the opportunity. It's funny, the other day, my dad and I were driving down the street, and we saw probably 10 people with bikes that we had fit for them, and there's really not much that can be more rewarding than knowing you impacted someone's life and made it better and allowed them and enabled them to follow their fitness path or journey or just lifestyle journey on a bike. We love bikes. Yeah.
So is it safe to say then that the Wood family is very health-minded?
Oh, absolutely. I would say so. In fact, when I took on the job with Dave, he came in the store to get chapstick one day, and then he came out with a bike. So, yeah, Dave Morgan's going door to door on his bike, so if you see him, you'll know. That's our doing.
Right. Well, we'll get him whipped into shape that way, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But you're a cross-country runner and an athlete. What else did you do at Lakeview in terms of athletics?
In terms of athletics, so I ran cross-country and track, and I was a captain, and I qualified for state individually twice. And then also in the winter, I swam club. We have a really fantastic swim program at Lakeview under Coach Julie Youngquist, who was one of the best athletic coaches I ever had. She really kicked me into shape, but that was a really unique opportunity that I was able to have through Lakeview, through our, we have a multi-million-dollar pool. So being able to train under her really put me in shape for cross-country and track. And then I also do triathlon, so that kind of all worked itself into one with the biking background and then doing the running and swimming piece. So I've always done the Serial City Triathlon. I was at High School Triathlon Nationals just a couple months ago. So yeah, I really just love the whole fitness lifestyle too.
Thinking about cross country, well, I think it was Yogi Berra said something like with baseball, 50% of the game is half mental, which is an interesting quote, but yeah. I'm thinking cross country is maybe more mental than anything. I mean, obviously, it's very physical, but how do you do that? How do you get ready to run that long distance without keeling over dead?
I think it's in my blood. My dad ran at Oklahoma State. My mom has a strong fitness background, and I feel like some people have all different sorts of therapeutic things they do for themselves. For me, that's running and that's working out. I'm really able to clear my mind when I'm running, and that's what I feel most happy, even though that sounds kind of nutty.
But it's like a meditation.
It is like a meditation. Mm-hmm. I really love to run. Plus, it's cool to run around all Battle Creek. I do a loop around Gogwack Lake, so I get to see all parts of my town. I think that's kind of cool to be able to put my body there on foot. And be able to do that. I'm very fortunate, very lucky.
Most definitely. So you're going to do KCC this fall, what, a couple of years there, and then somewhere else, but you're not sure?
Right. Right now, I'd say I'm in the business of opening doors for myself. I've got my foot in the political world. I've got my foot in business. I've also considered a military path. Last year, I attended the Air Force Academy Summer Seminar Program. So I'm really kind of, trying to figure out exactly what I want to do, but I don't feel as though I'm necessarily in a bad position because I've just been graced with so many opportunities, and I'm kind of figuring it out as I go. But I'm fully confident that I'll end up where I want to be.
You've traveled a lot. What, 28 different countries?
I've been to when you say it like that. Yes, I've been to 28 countries with my grandma, who's a travel agent, and it wasn't I have to say it's not a vacation, it's a job. When I was 8 years old, I left for the first time for a month away from my family, and worked with my grandma. She takes choirs, bands, chorales all over the world to perform. So what we do is we arrange the tours. And ever since I was 8 years old, she would have me on the phone. She'd say, "You're on the phone with France," and I'd be arranging dinners for 50 people in 6 months. So I got that leadership piece early on, and I have to say, through all my running, through my work ethic, I can strongly attribute to my grandma, who is an immigrant refugee who came to this country proudly, and she lives in Battle Creek. So she inspires me in a lot of ways, too.
She's from Germany?
She's from Germany originally. Mm-hmm. She grew up in Brazil, and then she eventually came to the United States, and she is probably the proudest American that I know. So she's an awesome lady.
A bunch of my family came over from Germany,
really?
Also, but it was like probably a lot earlier, 1870-ish.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. Yeah, she is from Germany, World War II Germany, and her family ended up taking a boat to Brazil, seeking asylum, and then they were in Brazil for a while, lived in the jungle, had a pet monkey, and then they ended up going back to Germany and then to the United States. So
wow.
It's really quite a story.
What's your favorite country that you've visited?
Ooh, lately my heart has been yearning to go back to Ireland. I just really like Irish music and culture. The most touching country that I was in was South Africa because I was exposed to so much culture. I feel a lot of times when you go to Europe, you're seeing like a very glamorized version of a history of a people and a history of a place and all the beautiful buildings. And I was actually in South Africa when Nelson Mandela died. So it was a really pivotal time, a really raw time to be in South Africa. And you were exposed to Cape Town, which is almost like Europe. And then also like their version of the favelas. The favelas are in Brazil, I know, kind of what they would call their ghetto. That's not an offensive way.
Night and day, I bet.
Right. And you just see so many different types of people, places. So, yeah, it was very moving, very touching.
We're talking with Maggie Wood. You're actually Dave Morgan's campaign manager. She's an 18-year-old campaign manager. You've never done this, right?
No, I've never done the campaign manager job, but I would say I'm fit for that job. And
you did intern with the Michigan Republican Party?
Right. Yeah, so I kind of got my start after I recognized that the 2016 election was a pivotal time in American politics, and I saw a lot of young people kind of yearning for understanding, and a lot of people were going to protests, and I was just kind of confused about the change in rhetoric, and I was curious about how the Republican Party might be shifting, and so I found for me the best way was to go in on the grassroots level, and I have to say, I've been really fortunate. I went to a county meeting, and actually I introduced myself at the county meeting, and Dave Morgan, my now boss, tried to appoint me to the executive committee, and at that time I couldn't accept the position because I was running cross country and I would miss the meetings. But I said, just wait a couple months because, this might be on the cards for me. I might be able to make it work out. In that meantime, I was at that same meeting, MRP, Michigan Republican Party, approached me and offered me an internship. So because I was more flexible, I took the internship first. And then I started working with Dave on the executive committee a couple months later, and I was attending a Lincoln Day dinner, and they recognized me for a couple of my civic involvements, and there were a lot of lawmakers and movers and shakers from Lansing there, and so I kind of got to decide who I might want to work with for the summer, and I was considering, do I want to work on more of a bigger statewide race? Do I want to do something more local? And for me, when Dave approached me for the job, first of all, the campaign manager title was enticing, right? Because it's very unique as a young person. But also, I felt he wanted to meet with my family, to know them. And when I asked him, and I asked everyone that I was considering working with, what's your plan for me after the election? And he had a clear vision, and he's willing to elevate me as an individual and support me in my running endeavors. He knew going in that I had already signed to run, and that I helped support my family's small business as well. But I think he also knew that my work ethic was there to take on a big job, and it's been fantastic so far.
It's a big job, but it is a local district. You could probably run the district, and we probably have. Maggie Wood, recent grad at Lakeview High School, and will be running cross country at KCC this fall. One of the first athletes to commit to that. Well, in fact, you were the first athlete to commit to that new startup program. They dropped softball. They added cross country. They'll be adding a couple of other sports, kind of revamping it according to what people are doing these days. And we're talking just a little bit before the break about politics. Somehow, you've gotten are you more political than most of your friends?
I think it's an interesting question, because I would say young people are becoming increasingly political in general. I think the way that I've gone about it is probably different than most young people. I think protesting is a really interesting form of political efficacy that we've seen come up more and more recently. But I have to point out that I think in some cases it can be glamorized. I know, and something that was impactful in a conversation that I was having with a colleague of mine, actually talking about how when the Parkland shooting happened, you see there were a lot of young people protesting, and they made posters, and people were holding up these posters and taking pictures and smiling with them and posting on their social media. In the background, you can see the mothers and the grandmothers, and their faces are worn and sad and scared. But to me, seeing photos like that with the young people smiling and taking pictures, even though they are expressing their political advocacy, they are still glamorizing, an extremely sad and powerful situation. And so I just, in my opinion, felt the best way for me to make a difference is to go, talk to the powers that be, and to become a mover and shaker myself, because I understand how law gets done. And I think that, if you really want to see the change, you have to be the change. And for me, that was going, meeting people who are in Lansing. And I will say as well that people have been extraordinarily gracious towards me and elevated me so many opportunities. And I would say that there is a desire for young people. Lawmakers want to talk to us. And I can't say anyone more so than Dave. A lot of people will have a conversation with you. But, I think it's a testament to show that Dave put me in the position as campaign manager because he believes in the future and he believes in young people, and he understands that the 62nd district is more than Democrats and Republicans. The 62nd district is small business owners like my dad, immigrants like my grandmother, young people like me, and so many more. And I think that he has, been here. His family's been here since the 1800s. Morgan Road's named after them. He's been a coach. He's been involved in politics. He's, a dad. He's done a lot of things that people here in the 62nd district are, And I just know that he's going to be the right person to represent us, and I feel confident working with him as a young person in politics.
Well, your boss, Dave Morgan, I mean, has unique credentials in the Republican Party in that, well, first of all, he used to be a Democrat,
right,
and he has been a union leader or union rep and a union member for pretty much his whole working life. So he kind of brings that, and I think we're starting to see unions not always be one party anymore.
You know, that's a great point. And 40% of union members did vote for Trump. So I would say there's a big shift, you know, in the union platform, in the union agenda right now. And I would also say that Dave's unique background, formerly being a Democrat, now being a Republican, is really unique. And I would say good for the 62nd district because, you know, a lot of people here are pretty, you know, they embody values of both sides. And I think that, you know, any situation where you get a candidate who's really far to one side or really far to another, they're probably not going to be able to work with others to make the difference in Lansing. Dave can work with Democrats. Dave can work with Republicans. And he definitely has the best interest of the county in mind as opposed to a political agenda. And that's another great thing that I really admire about Dave.
So what's on the agenda for as far as your job as campaign manager? What are you doing today and this week?
You know, well, knocking a lot of doors. That's the biggest thing. It's really important to get out and speak face-to-face with the voters. It's funny because I have this fancy title and, you know, Dave has a fancy title as a state representative when he gets elected. And the thing is, it's not all that fancy. We're just a catalyst to provide, you know, representation to the people. So really what I do and what Dave does, we're, you know, write thank you notes, talk to local businesses, just knocking on doors, making phone calls, phone banking basically. And it's just a really interesting and unique, you know, opportunity. You think that politics is so distant and far away and strange, but really we're just doing the grassroots stuff. And I have to say, too, working with the Republican Party and the Republican platform on the local level, I've really enjoyed because on the federal level, you know, the immigration, they deal with these huge topics. When we deal with huge topics as it pertains to the local. So potholes, that's a huge thing. Auto reform, you know, and those are things that I feel like can be easily tackled in Lansing. And I feel like those are things that Dave can bring something to the table on. And I really look forward to seeing what he does and our lawmakers can do in the years to come.
Well, best of luck in the campaign. And Maggie, maybe one day we'll be interviewing you as a state representative or state senator or something. Who knows?
Thank you, Tim. I
Still
appreciate it.
Got a lot of choices that you can make between now and then, but I'm sure you'll do well. Thanks again for being our guest today.
Thank you for having me.